Your body is already in trouble before you feel thirsty. By the time that dry mouth, foggy brain feeling kicks in, you've already lost around 1 to 2% of your body weight in water. That sounds small. It isn't. At 2%, your physical performance drops by up to 20%. At 5%, you start hallucinating. At 10%, you don't recover without help. Now imagine you're lost in the forest. No bottle, no map, just trees and the clock ticking. Here's the thing most survival guides skip. Finding water isn't about luck. It's about reading science, the physics of water movement, the biology of plants, the behavior of animals. Once you understand why water behaves the way it does, the forest basically tells you where it is. Let's decode it. Before we talk about how to find water, you need to understand why it ends up in certain places. Water obeys gravity, always. It flows downhill, seeps through porous rock and pools wherever the terrain stops it. Sounds obvious, but most people in a survival situation panic and wander across ridges instead of down them. The scientific term here is hydraulic gradient. Water always moves from high pressure to low pressure, high elevation to low. In practical terms, valleys, gullies, and the base of hills are where water concentrates, not the top of ridges. Never the top of ridges, there's also geology to consider. Limestone and sandstone are porous. They hold and slowly release water. Granite and basalt are not. Water runs off them quickly and pools at their base. If you see dark, mossy rock faces, there's moisture seeping through. That's not decoration. That's a water source. How to use this? Don't search randomly. Sit still for 30 seconds. Feel which direction the ground slopes. Move downhill. Follow the lowest ground. If you're in a valley already, follow it downstream. Water only gets bigger as tributaries join in. Plants are essentially biological water sensors. They evolved over millions of years to be really good at finding moisture. You can reverse engineer that. Here's the science. Transpiration is the process where plants pull water up from roots and release it through their leaves. Plants that require more water, willows, cottonwoods, cattails, alders, can only survive where their roots reach the water table. They literally cannot grow where water is absent. So when you see a dense line of tall, lush green cutting across a landscape, especially if it's greener than everything around it, that's not random. That's biology advertising a water source. Specific plants to know: willows and cottonwoods. If you see these, water is within 10 feet of the surface. Period. Cattails practically grow in water. Follow them and you're there. Lush ferns and mosses indicate consistent moisture, often from seeps or springs nearby. Avoid following cacti, obviously. Those plants are water hoarders, not indicators of external water. The practical move: in any forest, look for color contrast. The darker, lusher green patch is your target. Move toward it. Animals need water just like we do, and unlike us, they already know where it is. This is behavioral ecology applied to survival. Most mammals need to drink at least once a day. That creates predictable movement patterns that leave physical evidence. Trails worn into the ground, tracks converging in one direction, disturbed vegetation. Here's the key insight. Animal trails converge as they approach water. If you notice multiple separate trails starting to merge into one wider, more heavily used path, follow it. You're reading a biological GPS system built by thousands of animals over thousands of trips. Birds are even more reliable. Seed-eating birds, sparrows, finches, doves, must drink every day, and they fly directly to water in the early morning and evening. Watch their flight direction at dawn or dusk. They're not wandering. They know exactly where they're going. Insects are another signal. Bees have a foraging radius of roughly 4 or 5 miles, but prefer water sources within a mile of the hive. Swarms of mosquitoes or midges mean standing water nearby, not ideal drinking water, but it tells you water exists in the area. The move: stop walking. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. Watch which direction animals and birds move. Trust them over your instincts. Even if there's no stream or spring nearby, physics is working for you at night. Here's the science. Condensation happens when warm, moisture-laden air cools and can no longer hold water vapor. At night, surfaces cool faster than the air, so water deposits on leaves, grass, rocks, and your gear. On a single morning, a large leaf can hold several milliliters of dew. A field of grass can yield hundreds of milliliters if you wipe it with an absorbent cloth. It doesn't sound like much, but it could be the difference between cognitive function and deterioration while you work on finding a better source. The technique: before sunrise, tie absorbent fabric around your ankles and walk through grass. Wring it out into a container. Repeat. Some survival instructors have collected up to a liter per hour this way in the right conditions. You can also dig into shaded, low-lying areas. The soil retains moisture even when the surface appears dry. At 12 to 18 inches deep in the right spot, you may find soil wet enough to yield water when compressed. If you have a clear plastic bag or sheet, you have a water extraction device. This is evapotranspiration weaponized. Plants constantly release water vapor. Trap that vapor in a sealed container, and physics condenses it back into liquid water. Method 1, the tree bag. Tie a clear plastic bag over a leafy branch in full sunlight. Seal it tight. Leave it for several hours. The leaves exhale water vapor. It condenses on the bag walls and pools at the bottom. A good leafy branch can produce 200-400 milliliters in a day. Method 2, the ground still. Dig a bowl-shaped hole in a sunny spot. Place vegetation or soil inside. Stretch clear plastic over the top. Seal the edges with dirt. And put a small rock in the center to create a low point. Water evaporates from soil and plants, condenses on the plastic, and drips into a container below. Neither method gives you a river, but they give you something while you find one. Finding water in the wilderness isn't magic, it's pattern recognition. Understanding how gravity shapes terrain, how plants root themselves near moisture, how animals build their daily routines around water sources, how physics deposits water every single night on every single surface. The difference between someone who panics and someone who survives is almost never strength or gear. It's knowledge under pressure. It's knowing that the forest is full of signals and being calm enough to read them. So before your next hike, even a casual one, look up the geology of the area. Know which plants indicate water. Know what the terrain tells you. Because the best survival skill isn't reacting when things go wrong. It's already knowing what to do before they do. Stay curious. Stay prepared. I'll see you in the next one.